Prologue. Today's earnings is 800 silver? I wonder if this is a strange amount around here? Kagami muttered while inside the forest outskirts of the town, holding a bag of gold the size of two clenched fists. At the same time, he noticed that he had been fighting monsters until dusk without eating a meal. He decided to take a break, dropping his sword near a tree and sitting down with his back against the stump. Although he felt tired, when he imagined how he would spend the money he had earned, his heart nearly burst with joy. Using the money he had saved until now, he could hire an exclusive housemaid or manage a casino. He could also become an entertainer, or something more extravagant. Ordinary people would end up having to use their money for emergencies and wouldn't be able to save up such a dangerous sum of money. Kagami Kauji. He was not from an amazing household. His parents had run a rather ordinary tailor shop and had passed away when he was young, leaving behind a poor orphan. In the hands of this youth now was 800 silver. The amount was about half of what one would make as a tailor in a year, and he had obtained it in just one day. He sat on top of the stump, holding the bag of gold coins in confusion. Of course, he didn't own just the 800 silver in his hands. He had managed to amass 5,480 gold, and in this world, where it was said that an ordinary person would use an average of 50 gold in their lifetime, he possessed a massive fortune. If Kagami, a boy who had come from a normal tailor shop, said that he was a rich person, one could only say it is a life worth living. Accent, aka jealousy. Kagami had noticed that when you defeated the monsters living in this world, you were able to obtain money. The world had expanded with the birth of the concept status, and monsters were said to have spawned at the same time. Although the reason for this was unknown, this situation was seen as normal. You obtain money from defeating monster, and if the city issues a specific monster subjugation request, you can get even more as a bonus. This was something Kagami had realized when he was 2 years old. He had, by chance, met a few of the weakest and most famous monsters, green slimes, that had entered the village. Kagami had known that monsters were a dangerous existence and had earnestly thrown sticks and stones that he picked up from the ground around him. This way, without directly fighting them, he defeated the green slimes uninjured. At the same time he obtained 80 bronze, one of the currencies of this world. Gold, silver, and bronze. 1 gold was worth 1,000 silver, and 1 silver was worth 1,000 bronze. 80 bronze was the amount that Kagami received from his parents once a week, and was enough to buy roughly 2 pieces of candy for him to eat. Obviously, this was a not lot of money. However, even though the candy was cheap, it was the food that Kagami valued the most, so the 80 bronze that could buy him 2 pieces was seen as a large amount. This caused Kagami to think that earning money was easy peasy. However, earning money from fighting monsters was equal to courting death. My. SONNNNN. In fact, there were lots of people who got killed by monsters. The people who were killed by green slimes, which were said to be the weakest, were probably the most numerous. In fact, Kagami had just passed by a parent and a child who looked like they would be killed by green slimes. Although Kagami had, from the beginning, defeated them by throwing things, if he had hit them with his bare hands he would have certainly been killed. Even if they were said to be the weakest, monsters were a dangerous existence, and there was always a possibility of death. Green slimes used poison. What would happen if they attacked in numbers? It would surely become a threatening situation. As Kagami watched the parent and child pair, he noticed that they did not seem to have much fighting experience. If one had fighting experience, their posture wouldn't be so stiff. It was obvious the parent had grown up without fighting any monsters until now. That wasn't very strange. In this world, it was normal to live without meeting monsters. Without experience, the possibility of dying was extremely high. At any rate, if the situation didn't change, the parent and child pair would be killed by the attacking green slimes. They would first receive a heavy blow, as if struck by an iron ball, and then be killed by poison. However, this was only the case if you were level 1. A person's level is the numerical growth value given to them by the god of this world. The value is proportional to the person's physical ability, and it is possible to get convenient things like skills and magic, depending on the person's living environment. Some people could even receive roles given by God. As for the green slime's attacks that would feel like the impact of an iron ball, someone who was level 5 would only feel like they had been hit by a snowball. However, since the possibility of the parent and child pair being that level was low, Kagami swiftly attacked the green slimes. There were 8 roles that were capable of being called a role: warrior, martial artist, priest, magician, thief, merchant, hunter, and shaman. The 3 roles that had a special power said to come from a divine revelation were royalty, heroes, and sages. Finally, the role with the largest population. They were weak and devoted themselves to developing their towns through agriculture and inns. The villager. For villagers, who didn't have the power to fight, trying to live on monster subjugations was equivalent to suicide. Those who gained combat experience through such suicidal behavior were nearly non-existent, and standard villagers ranged from levels 1 to 4. Whether or not they gained experience or lived normally, level 10 was the limit for villagers. Even if the parent's level was higher, they would be killed because they didn't know how to fight. Kagami, who recognized this immediately, picked a small, round booger from his nose and flicked it. Immediately afterwards, the green slimes were suddenly crushed to death. Tennessee, from a booger, yep. The parent and child pair gaped in shock at the baffling phenomenon. They continued to watch, dumbfounded, as the chunks of slime split apart and 80 bronze appeared and fell to the floor from the defeated green slimes. "Io, were you fine? Are you okay?" "Yes, you're fine." Kagami casually walked up to the parent-child pair while scratching his short, black hair. He did not look like a cool 20-year-old who was skillful or attractive. Instead, he looked rather weak and seemed like the perfect example of a typical villager. This. Did you defeat it for us? How on earth did you do it? Even though I only flung a booger at it. Kagami began picking up the fallen 80 bronze, while saying something that was impossible to understand. The parent-child pair had the same thought, while breaking into a cold sweat. Booger? Was this young man strong enough to flick away the booger with that much power? Or was the booger unexpectedly dangerous? After witnessing such an insane scene happen in front of them, the parent-child pair considered their thoughts to be too trivial. "Hey, boy. Take this." Kagami passed the 80 bronze he had picked up to the young boy. The one who defeats the green slimes is the one who obtains the 80 bronze too, right? Isn't it amazing? No, I don't think so at all. Yes, you are the definition of failing at life. After Kagami responded to the young boy, who had already associated green slimes with fear, he began walking back towards the town. The parent-child pair watched his figure from behind and rose with surprise when they looked at Kagami's status window. It is possible for an individual to freely configure what information is shown on their status window. Basically, parameters were displayed on the status window, and it was possible to figure out someone's weaknesses from it. There were also many who displayed everything to the public to show off their strength. However, the only information that Kagami had opened to the public was his level and the role given to by God. Normally, there would have been nothing surprising about showing only these two pieces of information. Even so, the parent-child pair stared at it, with their jaws wide open and their eyes bulging out of their sockets. Kagami Kauji role, Villager Lv999. Kagami Kauji role, Villager Lv999.